Near the summer solstice, a wave of life approaches Southwest Alaska. Just a few weeks before, tens of millions of sockeye salmon were spread across thousands of miles of the North Pacific Ocean. And the first of the salmon are returning, determined to spawn or die trying. As they arrive at Brooks River in Katmai National Park, Alaska, dozens of brown bears congregate to partake in the feast. For brown bears, a species that must eat a year's worth of food in fewer than 6 months, the return of salmon will help sustain their survival in a competitive and challenging environment. Welcome to bearcam 2020, brought to you by explore.org in Katmai National Park. My name is Fitz, resident naturalist with explore.org, the world's largest live nature cam network. Joining me today are National Park Service Rangers Naomi Boak and Brooklyn White. This is the first of dozens of live events we plan to host this summer. And Brooklyn and Naomi, I'm very glad that you can join me today, so thank you.
Glad to be here.
This summer on bearcam is full of drama and suspense. Last year brought another very large salmon run, one of many during the last several years. And by the end of the summer, the bears were healthily huge. During this live chat, we'll look ahead to 2020, kind of connect some things back to last year, and preview some of the storylines that you can follow this year on bearcam. Before we get into that, though, I want to give our rangers an opportunity to introduce ourselves. And we'll start with the ranger wearing the flat hat Stetson, who many of you probably recognize from last year, Ranger Naomi Boak. Naomi, welcome back to bearcam.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. I am Ranger Naomi Boak, wearing the gray and the green this year. Very happy to be doing that. I am the media ranger here on the ground at Brooks Camp this year. Last year, you may have recognized me. I was the Katmai Conservancy media ranger, and I am a confessed bearcam addict since 2000. So I am not seeking treatment. This is my treatment. And many of you will know Brooklyn from last year's Fat Bear Week. She was my partner in crime for Fat Bear Week. So Brooklyn, why don't you tell everyone about yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much. So I have been working in Katmai. This is my 5th year, though it's my 2nd year getting to work on this side of the lens. I had the opportunity to work as a conservancy ranger like Naomi last year, but then I was able to jump into the media role to assist with Fat Bear Week at the end of last season, which was so exciting and so fun, and really inspired the opportunity to be a media ranger and continue that partnership with Naomi this year. So I'm so excited, and I love Katmai and the Bears, and being able to be here in this role to engage with all of you is really exciting.
And both Brooklyn and Naomi were instrumental in the success of Fat Bear Week last year. So maybe you discovered Fat Bear Week for the first time in 2019. Maybe you're a veteran of the Fat Bear Week campaign and of the bear cams, but these two individuals made it a wild success last year. So it was it's wonderful to have both of you back. And like I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, I'm the resident naturalist with explore.org. And I am also a former park ranger at Katmai as well. So I first discovered Katmai for myself in 2007 when I went up there to work as a ranger. I worked there for several summers, several years. And then after I left my position with the National Park Service, explore.org was generous enough to pick me up and allow me to continue to share my love of Brooks River with everybody. So I'm very thankful for this opportunity and excited to be back for another season of bearcam this year. You know, we've talked, a bit about ourselves, and we've mentioned Katmai, we've mentioned bears and salmon, but we haven't actually discussed and introduced where Brooks River is. So if you aren't familiar with Brooks River and its location or Katmai National Park, let me take you on a quick little tour here, and hopefully our wonderful producer who's working behind the scenes can cue that up for us. So Brooks River is located about 300 miles southwest of Anchorage, Alaska, in the west central portion of Katmai National Park. The river itself is fairly short. It's only 1.5 miles long. And in this view, it flows from left to right. Brooks Falls is right in the center of your view. Along with the National Park Service, Explore.org hosts and maintains several webcams at the river. Video from the bearcams is sent to not only one, but 2 repeaters on Dumpling Mountain, which then relay the signal to the small town of King Salmon, about 30 miles away. Maintaining the system in an area that is essentially off the grid, since no roads or power lines reach Brooks Camp from King Salmon, is challenging to say the least. And I would like to, of course, thank all of the people who work behind the scenes at Explore.org to make the bearcams a reality. I think everybody needs bearcam in this challenging year that we have this summer. You know, everyone's experiencing this pandemic together. It's a shared experience, and we can share the bearcam experience with everybody. So I especially would like to thank, you know, Joe Pfeiffer with Explore.org, who worked very hard to make sure that the cams were up and running this year, and all of the other staff at Explore.org. So thank you very much for that. Of course, you know, we have a lot of people working behind the scenes to make the bearcams a success, but the real stars of the show is not me, it's not Naomi or Brooklyn, it's the Bears. But Brooklyn, I did want to ask you, you know, since the Bears are the star of the show, why do they gather at Brooks River? Why is Brooks River so special for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, just like the footage that started our chat showed, we have an abundant amount of salmon, and that provides just a brilliant resource for these bears. The Brooks River is a part of the Bristol Bay watershed that moved over 50 million salmon through its waters. Now, the Naknek River that ultimately connects into the Brooks River receives just a portion of that 50 million, but still that's enough to provide an abundant amount of food for these bears. The other really unique feature is the falls itself. It provides a bottleneck for the salmon. It's just tall enough that it's difficult to jump over, but short enough that the salmon can ultimately make it. But it allows this really unique opportunity for bears to feed in a way that they have access to food easily. They don't have to expend a major amount of energy to access that food. And so it just creates a really beautiful ecosystem. And so the bears are here to really enjoy that and feed off of that and gain all of those calories to prepare for winter hibernation. But because of that, you know, the salmon are the star of the show. And they love this beautiful water that we have here. The Brooks River is situated between 2 lakes, and that provides really clean, cool, oxygenated water for the salmon. That's what allows the salmon eggs to be successful. And so they're able to come back year after year to this beautiful, clean water and ultimately continue that cycle. So salmon are just as happy here as the bears.
And Naomi, can you speak a little bit about what's happening now? I mean, the bears and the salmon are the focus of Brooks River. However, you know, like I mentioned before, there's, everyone around the world is experiencing a pandemic right now. So what's happening at Brooks River, and how does, you know, COVID and the coronavirus affecting the experience, your experience and the visitor experience at Brooks River?
Yeah, well, it's affecting it a lot. You know, this may be a very remote place and hard to get to, but the virus is a savvy traveler, so we're concerned about it here too. This is my favorite time of year at Brooks. I love it. More and more bears come each day. There's a surprise every day. The salmon have arrived. You see all the birds with their chicks. It's an amazing time. But it's a little different this year. Normally the park opens on June 1st. We arrive as rangers and park staff in May. Because of COVID-19, we did not arrive here until last week. We had to quarantine for 2 weeks in King Salmon and have 2 COVID tests. So we only have half the staff that we would in a normal year because we had to limit housing for social distancing and isolation. The good news is that it's kind of wonderful being here with fellow rangers and lots of bears. The bad news is that so many people had their trips canceled or postponed. And I do love being out visitors and interpreting for them. We are asking people to social distance when they come out here. The park is scheduled to open no sooner than July 1st, only for daily visitors, no overnights. First overnights, the first time that could happen would be July 23rd. When we are around other people, we are wearing masks. We are trying to social distance. Bears are great at social distancing. They like to stay more than 6 feet from each other. And we're trying to be cautious and courteous to our fellow human beings this year. So yes, it's a different year out here, but the bears are great. I don't know if some of you were on the chat this morning, but Holly, the Queen of Corpulence, the 2019 Fat Bear champion, was seen yesterday with a spring cub. So all that fat really helps. So, Mike, what do you think we need to look for this season? What kind of stories do you think we'll have this year?
Well, certainly, I think the storyline with the pandemic is one of them. And I know that you'll and the other staff at Katmai will keep us informed on that. And I would like to thank you for answering a little bit of those questions because we've gotten several questions about that from viewers recently, especially through the Submit Your Bearcam question page. So the people who have asked those questions, I hope Naomi was able to give you some explanation and insight into the things you were wondering about. This season, I'm really looking forward to watching the bear activity change through the summer overall. Right now is the peak of the mating season, and bear activity will vary considerably during the summer. But two aspects of their lives which will always be there is competition and hunger. And right now, there's a bunch of conflicts happening within their lives. They're competing maybe for space at the waterfall if a few of them come together to try to catch some of the first salmon of the year. But also there's competition amongst different bears for the mating season that's happening right now. So you'll see bears following other bears. That's been one of the major storylines for some of the bears, for a lot of viewers over the past few days, seeing a very large dominant male, 856, following a very large female, number 402. And then the other part of their lives that's going to be here through the whole summer, even after the mating season wanes, of course, is their hunger. That hunger is really never going away. It's ramping up right now. The bears have subsisted on their body fat, their fat reserves, really since last fall. And most of them have not had any good meals until the salmon arrive. And Brooks Falls is such an important place for these bears because it is the first spot in the region where bears can catch calorie-rich salmon. And their transition from summer to fall is really remarkable. So they come here in late June and July. July is really the peak for bears fishing at the falls. And then time, but in August, a lot of the bears will disperse throughout the region, throughout the watershed. All the last year, bears fishing every day, typically from late June until to late October. It's really remarkable. That is such a unique thing for bears. Food sources are not nearly that concentrated in most places, and they're much more rural. So bears had a really big year last year. And in September, we'll see them become really, instead of what they look like right now, kind of thin and lean and ragged looking. In September, they'll be thick and glossy with a lot of body fat. And that over right above our heads right now on the screen, a 151 walker, I think, is a great example of the transitions that we'll see in their lives. And that is all because of their profound hunger, needing to eat a year's worth of food in about 6 months or less time than that. So a really amazing transition. So bear activity will vary through the summer. A lot of hungry bears, the mating season going on right now. And then at the end of the summer, a lot of fat bears will also be very hungry as they try to gain those final fat reserves before they go into winter hibernation. But Brooklyn, bear activity on the river this year will be, yes.
Mike, can I interrupt? Because we are live. I just wanted to show you guys that I am at the falls, and that is 128 Grazer with her 2 little spring cubs. Sorry I had to usurp you guys, but it is live TV and we should take advantage of it. Yeah, there she is. She upstages us all. You know how they say never be on screen with children or dogs? Never be on screen with bears. So you guys can go back. Maybe you can talk while she's in the background here.
Yeah, 128 is one of those bears that's a frequent visitor to Brooks River. And it'll be wonderful to watch her story this year. She's also a really great angler. And her success is dependent on salmon. And Brooklyn, kind of getting back to that thought I had before, what can we expect to see with the salmon run this year?
It's going to be really interesting. There's so many storylines for the salmon that we don't physically get to see because it's all happening under the water. Thankfully, we do have an underwater cam that gives us a glimpse into that when we're not seeing them jump the falls. But we see so much playing out when the salmon begin to gather, which they are right now. I believe there have even been a few salmon that have been jumping the falls, which is exciting. And we'll continue to see that ramp up as the season continues into July. But, the salmon story begins very small as an egg that is incubating in the red once it has been spawned. And so we see that salmon journey continue, and we hear about the process that salmon goes through as it then journeys out from the river to the ocean and then ultimately back again to then come to, within inches oftentimes where they themselves respond in their natal streams. And so there are many salmon that come back to brooks every year as they are returning to the place that they themselves respond. We know that there are salmon that make their way all the way up Brooks River, some of them jumping the falls to make it into other tributaries that feed Brooks Lake or even further out. And there are some salmon that may never actually get to the falls because that was not their goal in the first place. The salmon experience is going to be very special and individual to each salmon. So we'll get to watch those stories as we see, hundreds upon hundreds of salmon jumping the falls, making it either to the place that they themselves are attempting to go or feeding a bear that is going to be able to utilize those calories. And then we'll potentially even see, salmon that are guarding the red that they have dug after they've spawned their eggs. So hopefully we'll get to see all of those stories play out. But each one is going to be unique and different, just like the bears that we're getting to watch on the cams. So Naomi, do you have a particular bear that you are excited to watch this season?
Well, I think I've revealed myself. 128 Grazer very kindly joined us for this chat. I asked her to come. I definitely is a bear to watch. When she had her first litter of cubs 4 years ago, she was very fiercely protective, and she even challenged 856, who is the most dominant bear. She challenged the biggest bull. She was fearless. But, this is her second litter, so she may decide to be calmer this year. I have seen that in terms of people, she's been very calm around us, but I haven't seen her around other bears. I don't know if you noticed when she was just at the falls, looking around a lot. You guys who've been watching the cams probably saw her tree her cubs. So I am very interested in watching 128 Grazer, and I thank her for her appearance. Mike, who are you interested in this year?
I like to follow their stories, of course. Grazer's one of them, but one that I am interested in watching because he has a very unique story is number 503. Some nickname Cub, although I prefer the name because he's no longer a cub. He's growing into a very big adult. He was emancipated as a yearling in 2014, and then subsequently adopted by number 435 Holly. And then now he's grown into a very large adult or young adult, and he has the potential to grow even bigger. So I'm curious to see how he progresses into or through the hierarchy at Brooks Falls, because over the past few years as a young adult, he's sort of been a happy-go-lucky bear, a lot of food around, very playful bear, very tolerant of other bears. However, his priority could change as he matures into a full-grown adult. So I'm wondering how he's going to fit into the hierarchy this year. Is he going to be more competitive, trying to push other bears away from fishing spots, or is he going to retain some of those more tolerant characteristics that he had in the past? So that is one bear that I'm very curious to watch. But Brooklyn, I know that there was one bear that you were also very interested in watching too.
You know, my girl, 435 Holly, the Fat Bear Week champion of 2019. We've already heard some really exciting updates about her returning with a spring cub. So we know, as Naomi said, that fat was very helpful in a successful return with a cub this year. Her story has always been so interesting, even as like you mentioned, her adopting a cub while she already had a cub of her own. And just, she's had a very unique story. And so many people are familiar with that story and have heard of the, she's almost been referred to as like this Wonder Mom, Super Mom bear. And it's just really special to see even last year, her relationship now as a single bear, gaining all of this fat. And we know that she is really good at getting fat, even when she has cubs of her own. So I think it'll be really fun to see what her temperament is with this new spring cub, what the season looks like for her, and if we have any new special storylines.
And each one of these bears is, well, an individual. And I think that's one of the fascinating things about the bearcam experience. We get to watch them not only over a few days, but over seasons and years. We get to see them grow from small cubs into large adults. We get to see the large adults age and face, you know, the really stiff competition posed by younger bears. So the individuality of these animals and the ability to get to learn them as and get to know them as individuals is a really unique experience in a national park setting. Most of the time, if you go to a national park, you see a bear, it's just kind of a bear on the horizon or on the hilltop. You don't have the opportunity to really observe it for long periods of time, but we have that opportunity with bearcam, and I think that's an amazing thing. Each one of the animals has its own personality and disposition, and that's such an exciting part of the experience. Of course, one of the other exciting parts of the experience happens to be the hierarchy and the interactions between bears. So Naomi, I think you wanted to speak a few words about that storyline.
Yeah, the hierarchy is very interesting because having a hierarchy and to know who's top dog and you know where they sit in the hierarchy enables them to fish successfully fat without getting fights all the time. They know if there's a bear who's higher in the hierarchy than they are in a fishing spot they want, they may not want to challenge that bear. So that looks like bear 747, our largest bear, in a favorite fishing spot, the jacuzzi. If you take a bear like 856, who is currently our most dominant bear, there he comes. And he's got 3 priorities right now: mating, eating, and being dominant, and not necessarily in that order. I mean, he will leave the jacuzzi and race after another bear just to show that bear that he is more dominant and he's top bear. And I think a story to watch is 10856A, the most dominant. He was challenged last year by 6'8". He's usually challenged a little by 747. 747 looks a little injured this year, so I don't know what will happen with that. But would definitely watch the hierarchy story, because now is when they're establishing their positions, and dominance isn't all about size. It's about attitude, and 856 has the attitude. So that's another storyline we're privileged to watch around here, Mike.
And then one big question I think that is on a lot of people's minds is how the relative lack of people at the work this year will affect their activity. And maybe before we get into some of our thoughts on that, Naomi, could you reiterate what you expect to see at Book Suburban this year? Reiterate the number of staff that are there, and maybe what the activity might be like over July.
Yeah, I mean, in June right now, of course, the Brooks camp is closed, so it's just park staff. We are half the number of people we usually are. July 1st, it's only a trip starting, and that's a tentative date. It's, looks like it's happening, but we never know. I think it's going to be a lot less people. People are hesitant to travel. Some people can't travel. They tested before they come here, which is a lot of mandates. So I think you'll see, what I've noticed being here with very few people is the bears kind of rule a bit more. They don't have anglers out in river except for a couple of staff who are fishing to eat. They are kind of calm around us, although the new moms are a little bit skittish. I don't know. Brooklyn, you're familiar with people come to the Brooks River. You've been out here for several years. You did a lot of bear orientations last year. What do you think about the past year's visitation versus what might be this year?
I think it's going to be really interesting to see. We've got so many factors and variables that are coming into the Brooks Camp experience, which is already pretty complicated. It's hard to get here. You travel by a couple planes, sometimes a boat, and you finally make it. So we've seen, visitation continue to increase over the last few years. And I think prior to kind of the restrictions that we're facing now, we would have continued to see that visitation increase. So this year, I think it's probably going to be very different. We already know that many people, unfortunately, have not been able to make the journey because there were restrictions in place in May and in June. But I think that it'll be just an exciting time, even though it'll be different. I think we'll have people that are still coming out being able to enjoy, but we'll have lots of different experiences that may require a little bit more flexibility or patience, but still to be able to see the beauty of this place and the bears and experience Brooks Camp, even if it'll be a little unusual for this season.
And I'm going to remind people we have the bear cams. Right.
Yes.
And that's an amazing thing in this year. The fact that Explore was able to get the bear cams up and running at the same time of year that they usually do. It's much to their credit. So in a time we're in lockdown, I spent over being self-isolated on the East Coast. You get a little bored, but everyone's got the bears. Kids who couldn't go to summer camp, they now can watch the bears and get to know their stories. So thank you, Explore.
Yeah, it is remarkable. I think all need bear camp more than any other time in our lives. And as we're going through some shared experience this summer, one thing we can watch for is how the bears use the river differently. Because there will be fewer people at the river, we expect fewer people at the river. I think that's an open question. Will the bears react differently, use the river differently? Because visitation at Brooks River has grown quite substantially over the past 10 years or so, and it's been fairly high really since the late 1980s. The cohort of bears at the river is mostly what you could consider a population that's habituated. So what that means is that they're tolerant humans to some extent. Others are just moderately tolerant of humans. Others are very tolerant of humans. So the bears are extinct. So those bears that aren't tolerant people, those bears that maybe stayed away from the river or only used the river hours when people weren't as active. I don't know if we're going to see any changes out of them, just because it's they're not expecting anything different. But there is one bear that we can watch on camera that might give us some insight into that. He's a bear that shows up every fly since he was a sub-adult in the mid-aughts or early aughts, and he is number 755 Scaredy Bear. He got his nickname because he was very skittish when he was younger. As a young bear, skittish of other bears, shy of other bears, and also not tolerant of people. He really did not like people in his space. And that doesn't mean he was dangerous. It just means he ran away from the area. So he's a bear that we see even now as a big adult standing on the far side of the river away from the wildlife viewing platform where Naomi is standing, where people tend to gather. Because bear, for him, people are a competitor in his mind. They're a physical competitor for space. Even if we're not trying to displace him from a resource, he'll see us and stay away. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering this year, if he comes down to the falls, will we see Scaredy Bear move to maybe near side of the river more often if there are less or fewer people on the wildlife viewing platform? I'm not sure. It's an interesting story to follow. I suspect that we're not going to see a really big change among the bears at Brooks River this year, but I am certainly willing for the bears to prove me wrong on that. So that's another really important storyline, I think, for us to follow this year. Any other thoughts from either of you?
Us. Well, the bears like to surprise us all the time. So my only other thought is I'm really looking forward to this season.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we just have a few minutes left in our program, in our chat today. Before we conclude, however, I want to plug a couple of tools that everyone at home can use to enhance your bearcam experience. Of course, I want you to join the live chats with myself and the Rangers throughout the summer. Brooklyn and I will be online tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern time for a text chat right here on this live chat channel. So it won't be a video chat, but it will be a typing chat in the comments below. So I hope then. But also, I want everyone to go to Katmai National Park's website and download the Bears of Brooks River, an identification guide to their lives and habits. That is the bear, what we nicknamed that Bear ID book. Just type in Katmai ebooks into any search engine, and it'll probably be the first hit for you. I know Rangers are working very hard to update it for 2020. So they haven't quite got there yet. Of course, there's been a lot of things delayed because of the situation that we're all in. So be patient with that, but you can still download the 2019 version and get to know a lot of the bears that are on the river right now. And then also join the conversation in the comments on the bearcam pages on exploded.org. We welcome your insight, your thoughts about the bears. It's a very welcoming community. So I want to see more people in the comments chatting about bears. I think it's a wonderful way to get to know one another around the world and learn about the bears that we love at Brooks River. Naomi and Brooklyn, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Bearcam 2020 is already shaping up to be an exciting season. And we're really looking forward to sharing the experience with everybody. We'll see changes through the summer, the salmon run. One of the most epic events in nature is just beginning, and their arrival signals the season of plenty in Katmai. By the end of the summer, the salmon will be spent after sacrificing their bodies in order to reproduce. And the bears throughout this whole season are going to be working really hard on their behaviors, transitioning from lean and ragged, which they are right now, to what Naomi said earlier, the kings and queens of corpulence. So their profound hunger and their ability to compete, learn, and adapt are all on display for us to witness this year. So it's going to be an exciting season on Bearcam 2020. My name is Mike Fitz with Exploded.org. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me today. Please join us for our other bearcam live events. And remember, if you can't bear it, then don't swim upstream. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll talk to you soon.